And welcome to our webinar on writing bids with AI, bid writing with AI. My name's Kieran. I'm the CEO of Leading AI, and I am delighted to have your time now for this next short, punchy, fast-paced webinar. I appear to be quite ethereal on this screen with this backdrop, so apologies for that. Hopefully that's not too off-putting. But I'm hoping I'm only a small part of this webinar. Most of the time you're going to be watching what's going on screen. Just briefly about Leading AI before we get straight into it. So we build private and secure AI tools for organizations. Everything we do is about privacy and security first, so ensuring that data that organizations bring to the AI tools stay inside your IT environment, which enables you to do much more with AI because you're not leaking your data to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or any of the many other 1,600, I think, large language models. This session, though, is all about our most popular product, which is Bidwriter. So let me show you our platform where we have Bidwriter, and we can get into that conversation. So Knowledge Flow, as per the background behind me, is the name of our platform, and that's the secure AI platform that enables Bidwriter to work. There is also many other tools that we have, which I might give you a brief glimpse into as we go through this session. But primarily, I think you're here to talk about bid writing, to learn a little bit about our Bidwriter and how AI can be used for that. So let me get into that. The first thing I should say is if you use ChatGPT or any of the other large language models, I know Claude tends to be a better writer, is often popular with people. If you're using those to write bids, then your answer to a question is probably the same as everyone else that is using those tools. And evaluators tell us that that's what they see when they get bid responses now. So it's obvious, it doesn't really serve organizations very well, and it's difficult for the evaluators to mark it or indeed to differentiate it. With our products, what we create is based on here's a geeky term, a thing called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG AI. That means taking the brains of ChatGPT or any of the others, but ChatGPT, and using those brains to look only at a set of data or documents that you choose. And that changes everything, because now you can have an AI tool that knows all about your previous proposals, your case studies, your strengths, your costs, your staff, and it can now answer ITTs, RFPs, create proposals, and so many more things directly from your content. So it's hugely powerful, and there are, as I've already mentioned, a number of other ways that that is used, and I may give you a quick sneak preview into that. But let's have a look at Bidwriter. So this is the sort of front screen platform for Bidwriter, and let's start off with one of the first things that you might want to do when you receive a new invitation to tender or RFP. You might say, well, I need to know whether or not we should answer this RFP or not. So let me get into here. That's helpful. And turn that into a list. Apologies. I am loading to Knowledge Flow right now a 5-part invitation to tender. This is an anonymized version, and you can see those are appearing up here. Now, often, and the reason I've done it as a 5-part one is often you will find an ITT has many documents associated with it. There might be web pages, there may be 5 or 6 documents, the form you have to respond to, and background content, etc. So that's no problem. There is no limit really to how many files you can load into this. So I've loaded them there. Now, this particular knowledge flow, this Bidwriter, is trained on, that means it knows about, and the only thing it knows about is 109 previous proposal responses, some case studies in there. There might be some policies and things that might be required for bids in there. Doesn't really matter what you put in, although I will come back to talk about that. That means that it can look at this bid and it can look at instantly all of our previous experience. And this is trained on my previous consulting business tenders, so a company called WCL. You might see it mentioned shortly. And the only reason for using that is, of course, I could say yes to putting those tenders and bids in. Most people are not very happy about having their deepest secrets and their best methodologies and costs exposed everywhere. So I could say yes to that. This first step then that I pressed was a bid no bid assessment, as you might have seen me press the button. So what that does firstly is have a look at what we've uploaded here, the RFP. Tell me what that is and give me a bit of a summary. So it's done that. That's the sort of thing ChatGPT can do for you. So there's not really anything exciting about that. Here, though, is where it gets interesting. Each of the questions in the RFP, it's identifying for me. It is then telling me where WCL has relevant experience that fits underneath what is being asked. There it is. And telling me where there are gaps. And it does that for each of the questions throughout. So I can now have a very quick flick through here. At the end, I'm going to try and get to that. Here we are. I can have a quick look at where there are gaps and weaknesses. And it normally has a go at a recommendation. Here we go, no bid, unless we can demonstrate through additional indexed evidence or supplementary materials, direct experience with early years parenting or child protection programs scale up. So that has saved me a load of time reading something that probably isn't really for us to respond to. But let's assume that I did want to respond to it. So back to the home screen, I've still got this loaded here. Interestingly, I can save that so that I can come back to it another day. So let me put that as Acme bid documents. This is helpful to save if you know that if there's quite a lot of them and you know you're going to keep coming back, which you probably are in answering a bid. And one of the things I should say is our customers that use this say that it takes 2 hours to answer what would have been easily a kind of 3 day, 4 days of hard yards. And you'll see why that's the case in a moment. But let's say I want to answer this. So I'm going to ask it to pull out the questions for me. So it's going to work through all of those. It's 21 pages, in case you're interested, of total documents here. So not particularly massive. Doesn't matter how big it is. It could look at thousands of pages. So it's pulling out some of those questions for me now, or all of the questions, and asking me setting out what it is that we're expected to say or respond to underneath those. So let me pick one out and tell it to answer one. So I'm just going to say answer. In fact, why don't I do this? Answer question 1. Now, Bidwriter is designed so that it knows how to answer an RFP question really well and really concisely. So let me scroll down. Here we go. What it will be doing in each case, and this is part of the system prompt that we've put in, is it will answer the question. So how will you deliver the project? It will then say where we've done that before. So giving examples of other clients. It will then say the impact or outcome of that work. So improved customer satisfaction or sped up delivery time or whatever it might be. And it will also then offer value added things that you might do that go beyond the question. So here's a first draft answer of all of that. There we go. I can see bits here. Should include this in the response. So it's telling me bits and bobs as we go through it of things it wants me to do. I can say to it, so let's pick something out here. We said we're going to do stakeholder consultation, and there's a fairly short answer. Let's say we want to make that a little longer. So I'm just going to say, give me more details on WCL's experience with, and I'll just paste in, engage. Let's go engaging with national stakeholders. And what I really love about Bidwriter is the time it saves in going and finding case studies and examples. This is the time that in that sort of 3, 4, 5 days of answering a bid, you spend most of the time hunting around, trying to find case studies, trying to find evidence, asking colleagues. Well, this can instantly go and find everything that it needs to. And that does not only makes it a much easier task to write with and to draft the copy, but it also means that you will be referred to things you might not ever have known that you'd done. So in particular in larger organizations, we've got a couple of consultancy clients where they have many teams. It can now draw on all of those and start to put together much better kind of responses than you might be able to do just on your own. So here we go. It's given me some answers on further depth on stakeholders. And as you can see, all of these things are referenced. So if I click on here, I can see these are the uploaded documents that it's mentioning that it's referred to, but then here are all of the different proposals it's drawn from in that response. And I can have a look at any of them if I want to. So I can jump in and go and actually have a read if I wish to. I won't show too much of those on this public webinar. So everything is referenced and explainable, which is really important. One of our specialisms is in making RAG AI, retrieval augmented generation, which is what this is, making it accurate and explainable so that you can trust it and at least see where the answers have come from each time. So that's a quick spin through how it answers bids and how it answers questions in tenders and how it can help you with the bid, no bid question. I should say, by the way, if you have questions that you would like to ask, please put them into the question box. I think that's at the top of your screen to the right, if you see it the same way I do. And I'm delighted to answer as many as I can during this or indeed after this. So there is that. Now we've built some other buttons here. These are the kind of quick action buttons or frequently asked questions, if you like. Let's hit that. Are there any compliance requirements I should consider? So again, in thinking about, do we need to answer this? Do I want to answer this? Respond to this tender? So here we go. Now it's just pulling out a specific angle on things that might be in there that we might want to be aware of in deciding whether to respond and indeed in informing the kind of response that we might make. By the way, there are over here, I can use any of these quick action buttons. This says draft an email. So I can turn that response into an email, which it will do for me now. Hide that away. And really that will just sort of top and tail it and makes it slightly friendly and shorter. So there we go. So I could say, I've had a read through the compliance requirements. I might want to send that to my boss. I can copy that here. I can hit that and it will open my email app and dump this into it. So I can just send it, or I can export as a PDF or a Word document. So there's lots of sort of options there. And of course, like all AI, that to Polish. I can translate, of course, into most languages now, and it's getting ever better. But I think it's like 80 right now. And every time we ever show these to fluent speakers, I've never heard anything other than that's exactly accurate. So it's very trustworthy. I normally suggest to people, unless you are a Polish speaker, that you might start, if you were going to use that, you'd start with the English answer and then have AI translated and write the translation underneath. That just gives you that cover that you can have read the first document. You can't really know whether the translation is correct. But as I say, we've tried so many languages and miraculously it always seems to be bang on. So there's that. Let's go back to the start again here. Some other things that are really useful in here is you can just say, give me a summary of our work in the health sector. So I find this really quite helpful if you want to just quickly create a case study, or in this case, just a summary I've asked for. It's going to look into all the proposals, case studies. It's going to pull out all the things it can see that work around health. And there we go. I can see, I remember some of these projects from back in the day. But there we go. It's got that. And of course, as we'd expect, referencing from where it's found those in the various documents. So that's really handy as almost as a kind of sales tool. You could be on a call with a customer saying, what have you done though in this sector? type it in, you've got it. Tell me more. I'll show you. In fact, why don't I dive into that? So this is the Centre for Workforce Intelligence. Let's ask it to give us, give me a case study on the Centre for Workforce Intelligence. Focus on, I know, stakeholder management. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with that for this particular webinar, but I am, it turns out. So, and this is really, you can start to see some of the power of, like, not only will you now get a case study about that work, but it's going to draw out the stakeholder parts that it can find around that piece of work. So it starts to really be useful at answering a specific question. And I quite like, for example, to say, if I was responding to this tender, now we know question 1 is about the project methodology. I might just say respond. I could say respond to the whole tender, by the way, and it'll give me an answer. It won't be enough, but it might be a useful framework to start from. All AI, if you ask it to do a big task in one go, gets a bit lazy. So it's best if you can ask more granular level, and that's why we suggest you pull out the questions and do them one at a time. But you might want to say respond to question 1, and this is how I quite like doing it. So that's the project methodology question. I want to focus on WCL's experience setting up PMOs. That's a program management office. I know we did a lot of that. And experience running focus groups. We didn't really do much of that, so I don't know how it would cope with that, but let's see. So I'll leave it like that for now. It will prove the point. And the point really I'm trying to get across is that you can, if you prefer, treat it a bit like an amazing executive assistant or bid writing, proposal writing professional that happen to know all about your case studies, or that happen to be able to write at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but will take fully your instruction. So in this case, here we go. So I've asked it to give me that view. It seems to be focusing much more only on those bits rather than answering the question. So I could, and then here's a great example of sort of multi-shot work. So make that relevant to answering question 1 in the RFP. I'll call it the ACME RFP in case, RPF I called it, that'll be fun. See how it copes with my typos. Normally it's really good with typos and recognizing what you're getting up to, but RPF, let's see. There we go, great. So it knows question 1, come back again up. How will we carry out the project? It's restating that. And now it's bringing in that PMO and focus group experience, because that's what I told it to do. And if I told it to twist that, change it, make it a different thing, make it shorter, more bullet points, of course it will do all of those things as well. So far we can immediately check any tender opportunity and see whether or not we match it. We can pull out the questions immediately, check if there's any compliance requirements, and we can get on and draft answers. So we can make a huge amount of progress very quickly indeed with any bid that we want to go for. There's a few other bits and bobs though that we can look at. Here is a lot of people say to us, what data should we put in? Because we've got lots of proposals that we've lost and fewer that we've won, which is probably true of most organizations. And we don't have the case studies because nobody wants to write case studies, do they? So it used to be my least favorite thing, still is probably, but it's a lot easier with this. So watch this. If I get rid of those documents, and I'm going to upload now this. So this was a response to a tender that we created and won, in fact, but it doesn't matter whether we won it or not. I need a case study from it. And so I'm going to feed this into Knowledge Flow. This is the response to the tender, and I can see down here that it's just getting through a very clever process of embeddings on my laptop. And I'm going to ask it to create a case study for me of that work. So I could have used any documentation about the project. So as long as it's got something in there about the client's challenge or requirement, something about what we did, ideally something about the outcome and how you approach it and the outcome and what the client said, etc., then you will be able to get a case study from it. And that's what it's done right there. So I could take that case study, I could turn that into a PDF over here. There we go. And if I just, where's that open? There we go. So there, now I have that case study, which I could then feed back into the index of documents. And now I've got that case study. How long did that take? Seconds. So it's a really quick way of doing. And if, as I say, I would be able to do. I would be probably better doing that with a project initiation document or project brief or something that describes the project, a couple of project reports to show how things have gone, some client feedback if I had it, anything that has any of that data in, the AI is going to scour through, find the bits it needs, and write it for you in a beautiful way, all privately and securely. So you can process commercially sensitive data, and you can put in personal data into this as well. So there's that in action. And here is another thing, the final review. So I'm going to take that same tender that we wrote, and that above it, I'm going to put both of those in, was the original invitation to tender. So I'm loading both. I'm just going to wait for those to go through this embeddings process. So it's two pretty sizable documents. I can see ours at 1.2 megs, the other one's only 59 kilobytes, so not massive. But I can see it's plowing through the embeddings process. There we go. And now I'm going to ask for a final review. So in this case, this was the final bid that we submitted. So I'm hoping to find that it's going to be pretty complimentary and so that we covered everything. We did win it, so I presume we did enough. But it's going to have a look in the invitation to tender requirements, and then it's going to look at the proposal response. I think this is just giving you kind of a summary of what they are, and then it gets into the somewhere down here. It will give me the, here we go. There's a table summary and recommendations. That's really what I want. I could read it all, but I don't want to bore us all on a webinar. We're having a lovely day. We don't want to have to be reading lots of detailed text. But here we go. So it's having a look and telling me what things it thinks I should say. Here we go. Recommendations, add a compliance matrix, insert explicit statements, confirming compliance, blah, blah, security checks, all that. There you go. So it's given me, and that has checked everything that was in a requirement in the ITT. Have we met it with a response? And here's all the things you need to go away and think about now. So tremendous kind of helpful final reviewer, really, I guess, in all of that. I think, what else do I want to say about Bidwriter specifically? Like I say, do put any questions that you have into the chat. I would be delighted to answer them. I can see a couple in there already. Thank you. I'll come to those in just a second. We can, as part of this, make this write in your tone and style, so that we can load into the background your own writing guide. If you don't have a writing guide, then here's a shortcut for you. What you can do is take, or we can help you with this, take something that you like and think is a well-written piece that you've produced, and put it through one of the AI tools, as long as you're happy to let it be leaked to the world, and ask it for a writing guide that you can use as a prompt to ensure writing looks like that in the future. If you do that, you'll get then what it describes, how it describes that text, and you can use that in the prompts. That's basically what we would do for people that don't have a writing guide to send to us. Why you should not put things into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. There are 3 reasons why you shouldn't just use a public tool for anything with private data or commercially sensitive data. Number 1 is there is a setting which most people haven't yet found, which is don't use my data for training purposes later. So all of those large language models are super data hungry, and they, in their terms and conditions, which we didn't read, say that they're going to use your prompt, or may use your prompts, that's the thing you write to it, and the responses it gives to improve and train the model next time. So your data becomes part of it. Secondly, is that even if you turn that setting off, the prompts in ChatGPT, so OpenAI, the owners of ChatGPT, have a statement that says that they will retain prompts and responses for a period of time. I think it's 3 months, might be 6, on their servers, accessible to them and anyone they choose to give access to. So you're not massively protected. Who knows who they choose to give access to? those, any contractor, anybody with a right to look into that. And then the third problem, and this is a big challenge if you're in public services in the UK, is that most of those models process in the US. And even the ones that favour EU often take something in the terms and conditions about load balancing and switching to wherever jurisdiction they fancy. You're not allowed to process public data, private public data in the US. So three good reasons why you cannot really use a tool that is a public AI tool. So I've given you a quick flip around how Bidwriter works. And really the headlines with all of this is it's a huge time saver. That means you can respond to every bid that came your way. Even, often we spend time on the bid no bid part of the world, and so I think, well, if we didn't know the client at all, this has come out of thin air, probably we've got no chance. We're certainly not going to spend 4 or 5 days or weeks on this. Well, with Bidwriter, you could do a quick crack through in an hour and have something that's plausible, that's grounded in your stuff. So that's the key thing. It's not made up. Send it in and at least get your hat in the ring for a conversation, perhaps for next time. We've had a couple of our customers who've told us they have won grant funding or project work that they would never have bid for previously. So amazing to hear. And the cost for this stuff is not expensive. I'm not going to talk about costs on the webinar. Delighted to talk about costs if you would like to follow up. It is not expensive. If you win one bid with it, you'll have covered the cost of it just on the margin that you would have in there. It is really not expensive. So get in touch if you'd like to know more. Let me deal with some questions. And as I said, please feel free to fire in any other questions that you have. So are the documents and our data secure? Thank you. So yes, is the short answer. Everything we do is about security first. That means making sure that all of the data, your documents, what you put in, the responses that you get out, never leave your Microsoft Azure tenant. Most of these are built in. We can also build in AWS Bedrock. But the Microsoft Azure tenancy runs OpenAI servers within it, or runs Microsoft servers with ChatGPT on it within the tenant. That means the data never leaves your secure environment. So you can now, and if you read Microsoft security documentation on this stuff, it would tell you all about it, but you can use sensitive data through there. You can certainly put private data in and commercially sensitive data, all fine. If you're allowed to process it inside your own IT environment, then you can put it into this. So yes, it's secure. Do I need hundreds of case studies? Yeah, we're always asked this question, and it's one of the sort of AI ready data is a thing in our world. And lots of people talk about it, and you can kind of get very, it's really important, by the way, AI ready data. So I don't want to belittle it, but our view is you should never start by starting to try and clean up your data. You should start with the end in mind. So for Bidwriter, it needs some previous case studies, something to work with. But you'll discover as soon as you start using it, what else it needs. You'll see it will keep favoring particular things sometimes. That's where they appear a lot in lots of documents. And therefore the AI thinks that's really important and often will put that nearer the top. So you can remove that if that's the case, or tell it not to do that anymore. And if you're missing stuff, then you obviously need to make sure that some case study, some material covers that. The reason we suggest that you use previous proposals as a source of data is they tend to be quite rich in case study information, and they might not have hundreds of case studies in, but I don't know, if you're responding to a tender, you're probably referencing 5 to 10 other pieces of client work you've done. That's enough for the AI to have something, for the knowledge flow here to pick that out and say, okay, I can see you've mentioned you've done this thing with them, so I'm going to use that. So that really is helpful. And lots of people say to us, but we've got all these bids we didn't win. I mentioned it before. My point on that is you didn't win the bid not because it didn't have case study information in. You didn't win the bid because you either did not answer the question or you weren't persuasive enough with enough evidence. That does not mean that that proposal that you wrote is worthless to future content, provided you can stand behind what you've written, the methodology that you've created, if you have, in that bid, the case studies you've referenced in that bid, provided you can stand behind that, that is rich data for this. So definitely feed it with all of those materials. So yeah, you don't need hundreds. We normally run trials on this stuff with kind of 10 and it's pretty good. If you can get 100, brilliant. I think people are variably between about 30 and a few hundred in some cases. There is no limit, by the way. You can put in, we've tested it up to 18,000 documents in the back and it still works brilliantly. So yeah, you can, if you've got loads of data, go mad. Let me just quickly talk about this. So it is really good for grant funding as well. It's, I mean, as you'll, I'm sure have already seen. So if you are a charity and you are thinking about that use case of getting funding and access to various grants and etc., perfect for that too. And it does it exactly the same way. We can do some tailoring in the writing style to soften language so that it's not always quite so commercially trying to persuade in that regard. So yeah, it's really good for that. What other questions? I've got a few more. Please do send any in that you want. Thank you. How do I add and remove documents? Yep, so we have a couple of ways of doing that. And in fact, let me show you. I'm going to spin around a few more things that Knowledge Flow can do. So I'm in Bidwriter at the moment. And if I click down here, I can see, as is the case with all of ours, this will tell me what is in its index. So I can easily look, 109, I mentioned that before, and here they all are, and there will be a whole 109 if I just zoom down. So I can see explicitly what it is looking at, and indeed, therefore, what is missing. Those can be changed as often as you wish. Our tools, Bidwriter and all the others, are designed to re-index themselves 2 times a day, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., but they can be triggered to do it any time. And anything that you put in a SharePoint folder that we tell you about, we set up and point at, anything that exists in there, it will hoover up and it will replace whatever's in there with. So if you take something out, it will get rid of it. If you add something in, it will add it in. So that, and typically in the early stages, that's when customers tend to see where things are a bit skewed. As I say quite a lot, if you use proposals, you'll quite often have the same paragraph, you know, about the company or whatever. And sometimes that can cause a few problems just because it's so prolific in the data that it appears very often. If we can sort that out once we see it. So there's a bit of tweaking and fine tuning to do once you kind of get underway with it. What else did I cover? Here we go. How long does it take for you to provide it to us? Well, I like the confidence. We'd be delighted to talk to you. Thank you. Just either reply to the email or you can get hold of us on our website and we can certainly have a conversation. But perhaps I'm overthinking your question, but generally a couple of weeks is a short answer. We have done some very quick turnarounds for people that have been in a bit of a panic and managed to get these things up in a day if you've got your documents. But generally we quote a couple of weeks for you gather your documents together. We build, you put the documents in, and depending on how you want to use it, there's normally a bit of a kind of 1 or 2 weeks of let's fine tune and then kind of make live in your organization. But if it's only for you, then effectively you can do that as you go. So in 2 weeks would be ideal. Thank you for that. What about many? Yes, many bids are many public sector bids ask if you've used AI. Yeah, they do. They are. The short answer to that, we have a statement that we normally give to people if they're asked about this. Using AI to write bids is allowed by everybody and in fact encouraged. So to my knowledge, I should say. Don't quote me on saying it. Kieran said it was all right. But what they want is that transparency as to how you've used AI. And really what people are saying is if you've just drafted the whole thing with ChatGPT, then let me know now and I can save myself the time to read it. We have a statement which explains what RAG AI is and why it's useful. And I am absolutely clear This is better, even as an evaluator. You should love it when people have done this, because it is writing answers only grounded in the previous experience. You can be confident of that. It's going to write well worded answers, and it's going to have found the right stuff. So I am more likely to have a richer, more accurate, and indeed more honest answer if I use something like this, I would argue. So RAG AI, and we've got a statement that kind of explains what it does. In really, it's using AI to search your case studies in order to make relevant answers for the customer. So we think it's a positive thing. Hopefully the world is going to catch up. And I think there's a real challenge, isn't there? Because at the moment, if you are not using AI to bid, you're up against everyone who is. So there's some people using ChatGPT, there's some people who'll be using tools like this, and there's some people that might be quite advanced in ChatGPT and are happy to load all their, feed it at least with case studies and things to make more tailored versions. Whichever one of those you are, if you are just the human writing responses, you're already at a disadvantage. Never mind the fact that you can only answer one a week, and this you could answer one an hour. But the very fact that you won't have as rich response, you will make typos and spelling errors and whatever else that that these don't. So I think it's a kind of, everyone's going to need to go this way in some way. I think I can't see a way around it, frankly. Interestingly, we are working on the other side of the house as well, which is how do you help people evaluate bids using AI, which is really interesting. I think there's a potential time when AI just talks to AI and they work it out themselves. We'll just get told what we're working on tomorrow. Hope not. I hope not too soon. I'll give you a very quick, as we run towards the end of this, and I'm happy to take any more questions if you do have any. As we run towards the end of this session, just a really quick run through of some of the other things Knowledge Flow can do. We normally deploy with our private GPT. So Bidwriter would come with private GPT, which is a private link to ChatGPT. That means it can do the things ChatGPT can do, but without the world seeing your data. And more importantly, with the ability to upload huge amounts of data. So whether that's Excel documents you want to examine and analyze, or whether that's 50 reports that you want to combine into one, things that you can't do with ChatGPT because it won't allow you that kind of space. Knowledge Flow's capability with data upload is quite phenomenal. And I won't bore you with exactly how that happens, but it is to do with embedding, a thing called embeddings. If you are technically minded, we run through embeddings on your laptop. That means you're not filling the context window with all the documents, which means you can put huge amounts in. There you go. I said I wouldn't get technical, and then I did. So ChatGPT, which is just a fantastic tool, it blows Copilot out of the water, and mainly that's because of its data upload capability. It's also because it can run on the models you want it to, but also all of these tailorable buttons. All of these can be created to write an executive briefing in your way, to, if you're a recruiter, to draft job adverts in your way. Whatever you need them to do, we can craft these, which just makes AI so much more accessible for your teams, your staff, and it makes it do the thing that's unique to your organization. So Copilot is designed for everybody. Our stuff is designed to do the stuff that you need doing, that stuff that makes you unique, capturing that and helping you do more of it. That's really what we're trying to do. Just very quickly down here, so we have a PMO assistant. That's a program management office assistant. I used to set up program management offices as a consultant back in the day. And the promise of a PMO was always that a project manager could report once and we would reuse that data many times. And the truth of it was, you nearly always, someone would come and ask you in the PMO, go, well, but what about how's that project doing and how does it impact me? And you'd have to go back and ask for more information. And everyone got frustrated, and you're really kind of a post box in the middle of a load of projects. At the time, we didn't ever used to say that, but I'm pretty sure that's what we were doing, really. With this tool, you can load your project initiation documents and latest updates. It then knows all of the projects you're working on and can answer any question you like. What are our risks? We've got some dummy data in here. What are the risks that we need to think about? You can ask for CEO talking points for today. But really excitingly, you can ask things like, I'm thinking of this new project. Is anyone else doing something like it or exactly it? Or you could say, I am running the digital twin for urban redevelopment project. Are any other projects delays going to affect me? Whatever you want to ask it, it all knows all about the data. So the importance of reporting and having someone still driving that process and giving it high quality, regular updates on the projects, that remains. But this then can just give all of that stuff and the reporting, and it could do Gantt charts and flow charts and all that stuff as well. I will wrap up in just a second. So any last questions, let me know. If not, I'll wrap up. But knowledge flow can be heaps and heaps of different assistants. We have HR buddies. We have, as you can see, contract assistant, repairs assistant for housing. We've got a UK public law trained on all of the UK law. So you can ask it all kinds of stuff about what legal stances on this. Is this allowed? Is it not allowed? Review this contract and tell me, is it compliant with UK law? All those kind of things. Marketing assistant, which helps you write and does amazing kind of just in your house style, turns data into kind of wonderful copy. Policy assistant, a bit like HR assistant. Here it's called knowledge assistant. Knows all about the policies of an organization and can answer inbound emails, and knowledge flow can be agentic. It can look straight at an inbox if you want it to, pick out an email and send a reply or put a draft in front of somebody to look at. So it does loads of stuff, but you're here for Bidwriter. So just to recap, Bidwriter is designed to smash through grant funds, bids, ITTs. It knows all about you and your world of case studies and previous proposals and costs and staff member CVs, and it can therefore put those together to create answers to any new ITT. Because it's all AI driven, you can feed it with pretty much anything and it will work out what is needed to answer the question. It makes bid writing a pleasure, almost a pleasure. I'm not sure you could ever say bid writing is a pleasure. I remember many a time burning midnight oil. You basically would never need to be up late with using this, because it can do all the heavy lifting that you need to do to find your answers, draft good answers, and check how you're getting on along the way. If there's no further questions, I'm going to wrap up there. And thank you very much indeed for giving up your time today. We would be delighted to speak to you if you've got any further questions about any of this. In fact, any kind of AI, we love to talk about it. We're definitely not that salesy, so do get in touch. You can reply to the email you received and you'll get a follow-up email after this with a video. Look at that, I'm looking very ethereal now. I can see myself on screen. Yeah, we look forward to talking to you. So please do get in touch. And thanks for coming. Thank you.